What do the series The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Discworld, and Four Baristas in the Apocalypse all have in common? Well, today we are going to discuss that. Hello all, and welcome to my Wattpad Wednesday. My name is Noanna Brown. I am a author on Wattpad. I'm also going to do book talk and book reviews about books that I actually read on Wattpad. Now, for my first video, and bear with me, I'm still new at this, the first book I actually read for this was called Four Baristas and the Apocalypse by Geoff Blackwell. He is an author on Wattpad, and he also goes by Refster on there. You can also check him out on Facebook. I'll put the link below in the video. And the summary for this is the four friends who own a coffee shop go on a vacation only to be woken up by a pending alien invasion of tiny aliens who care more about enslaving the world and mining resources than actually, taking the world as their own. With the assistance and blundering of a space hologram, they discover they alone can save the world. Now, this is just a very basic summary, and you can find comparisons to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Discworld. The author also makes a point to compare it to Guardians of the Galaxy by Marvel. And for my own interest, I actually kind of looked at it while I was reading it, and I could actually get some sense of, okay, I'm seeing some Tim Burton Mars Attacks as well as Independence Day vibes from this. I mean, Alien Invasion, sure, but one is a little more comedic with Mars Attacks. I mean, that was kind of supposed to be a spoof on Alien Invasion in some ways. But anyway, and the thing is, the story, you can actually, the first 11 parts are available for a free preview on Wattpad. It is currently a part of the Paid Stories program they have on Wattpad, so if you want to read the rest of the story, you have to pay for it. For Wattpad, it's about, they have something called coins on Wattpad. It's about 144 coins. I decided to just read the free preview to see, okay, do I like the book? Am I going to be interested? And it's a very interesting story so far, and I would definitely recommend reading it. It's just definitely something sort of fun and comedic, and you would enjoy it. In terms of culturally, how important it is, it's just a fun sci-fi kind of comedic novel, something you would probably enjoy to read while traveling, or just something to listen to while you're shopping. It's definitely kind of funny, and you kind of have to sometimes stop and go back a little bit to double check and see what the characters are talking about. In terms of reading level, I would recommend this would probably be for anyone in high school up. There is some rough language, and the story is actually set in, I think it's Queensland, Australia, if I remember correctly, and we also get some various language and Aussie slang while reading it, so you do see that. And as far as librarians or teachers, I think I have notes in here. Sorry, I'm going off of what I have here. Like I said, this would definitely be more for probably high school and up, so 9th to 12th grade. If you wanted something that's kind of comedic in the same vein as that. And going off of the Scholastic website, now again, this is a Wattpad novel, so you're not going to find this information. I'm just going based off of other novels that are sort of in the same vein, including obviously Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and you also have Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Both, they're different genres. You have science fiction and fantasy, but they're both dry-witted, comedic, and very well done in terms of world building. And so for that, I mean, grade level equivalent, you don't really have them, but like I said, you could probably go anywhere from 9th to 12th grade. Parents, if you're worried about language, that's why you would probably have to read it with your child if they're like maybe in 7th or 8th grade, just in terms of language. And as far as the Lexile and DRA level, I do not have that available, but I'm just going based off of what Scholastic said for Hitchhiker's Guide as well as Terry Pratchett's second novel in the Discworld series, The Light Fantastic. So this could be anywhere from 820 to 1000 on the Lexile scale, so that's definitely something to consider. And I would recommend this book as something fun for you to enjoy. Bared with me so far. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm actually going to get into the meat of the video, which is the actual book review. Now, I realize that this is a Wattpad novel, and some people kind of go, Wattpad, why would you even bother doing a book review? Well, as someone who also writes and would like to eventually get published either through the traditional method of going through an actual publisher like Little and Brown or Quirk. Quirk is actually my dream publisher to work with if I ever decide to go that route, or do the indie self-publishing route through Ingram or Amazon. It'd be nice to actually do a review and get some light on these books, because sometimes I've even had people that I follow on Wattpad kind of complain, oh, why don't you read my books anymore? Am I just writing for no reason? Blah, blah, blah. I've only been on Wattpad for over a year, and my one story, the longest story I have, and it's one of my favorites that I'm actually writing, is, I think it's about 14, almost 15 parts long. It's still incomplete, and I've only gotten 243 views on it. So doing a Wattpad review or on books is kind of important because, hey, they're books too. People are actually writing. Some of them are doing this not just for fun, they're doing it for a living. So that's why I decided to do this. Now, Geoff Blackwell's book, The Four Baristas and the Apocalypse, I actually really enjoyed the book. I thought it was fun, like I kept saying in the other part of my video, but there were some issues, so I'm going to get a little more critical here. And yeah, it is a Wattpad book, but it's a part of the paid story program, so obviously it's a very well written and well done book, and obviously to get to that, I mean, not everyone gets to have their story paid for like that, and some people actually, their stories, and I've read quite a few Wattpad novels and stories where I kind of go, why the fuck would anyone want to actually read this or think that this is even worth reading or publishing? And I hate to say that, but I have read those and I kind of go, why? So there's a reason why I'm doing this. It's because I want some books to actually, they should get views, they should get looked at, and some authors do deserve that recognition. So while I did enjoy this book, there are some things I kind of was like, really? For instance, when I was reading the author's note, he compared the book to, he's like, well, if you like Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, you will probably enjoy this book. And it was an interesting combination, not gonna lie, because on the one hand, you have Douglas Adams, it's kind of dry-witted, the things that happen to the characters sometimes happen, like the narrator's monologue, sometimes it's at the character's expense, some of the things that happen, like the humor and such, and it's, in terms of world building, very well done. Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, it's sort of a different format, it's not a traditional book, it's a comic book, or in the terms of Marvel Cinematic Universe, it could be TV, animated TV show, etc. And there's comedic moments and they are funny, however, it's a little more revolved around the action in the story and such. So when I was reading this, one of the problems I had was while I was reading it, and while I did chuckle, excuse me, there were times where I was kind of like, okay, I'm waiting for it to kind of get a little more dry or a little bit more witty, or I wanted it to be a little bit more like Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or on that same token, maybe a little bit more like Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Now, I know that's a fantasy series, however, it is very good in terms of humor, world building, and you actually believe the characters. Now, with this, one of the issues I had was, I'm going to talk about the characters now. In the story, you have two main couples. You have Cameron and Mel, and Max and Cora. Now, the fifth MP, or main protagonist, is an AI space hologram who's called Ethel Jamson. And we end up finding out that he was sent to Earth to weaponize or save Earth by finding heroes to stop the Rigelians, who are the alien race, and their Naguilian clone army from also invading and rounding humans up to enslave them. Now, the thing about these characters, and this is what kind of irked me a little bit as I was reading this story, because the title is Four Baristas of the Apocalypse. I was expecting to see them in action. Now, granted, I have only read the first 11 parts, including the preface or author's note for this. I haven't paid for the rest of the story. Now, for all I know, I'm later on in the story, you might see them more in action, but I only have the author's word in the very beginning and also the character's reminder that, oh, we're baristas. Okay, and they also own a coffee shop. The author himself said he wanted baristas because, hey, why not? I mean, if you're going to have a ragtag bunch, why not have baristas? I mean, at first you think, okay, how are baristas going to save the world? And this is something the characters struggle with because they're like, we're nobody, we're baristas. And you also even have Ethel Jamson kind of say at one point, yeah, but still, you're what I got. So will you help me save the world? And the problem is, it's like nothing wrong with baristas. I think it's kind of a fun idea, and that's what kind of got me into it, because I know a lot of friends who work either at Starbucks or indie coffee shops, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I would like to see what happens. And it almost felt like, okay, I'm waiting to see something more about these characters. All I have so far is that the title, the author's insistence, and the narrator talking about them as baristas. I don't get to see them in action as baristas. That was something I was kind of hoping when I was reading the book. I was like, okay, they could have opened it with them closing down their coffee shop, having a good day at the shop, and going on vacation. He didn't do that. Nothing wrong with that. It's not my book. There might be a reason he decided to do this differently. However, that was kind of the problem for me. And the humor also a little more hit and miss in terms of, okay, we get play on words, or there's a lot of humor regarding grammar, because Ethel Jamson, he is an AI space hologram. He's constantly learning, and even though his creators supposedly did a lot of research in terms of, okay, how do people talk on Earth, how do they dress, it kind of falls short because he ends up coming out in this really crazy costume, and I'm not going to ruin it for anyone, but you kind of go, what the heck? And he blames his creators, which, fair enough, they failed in their research, and he's still learning, so you'll constantly have someone trying to speak, and so at one point he says something, you kind of go, wait, and then the guy's like, oh, I know what that means, it means cluster. Yeah, anyway, I think I already swore once in this video, and I don't want to get in trouble anymore. So, despite myself chuckling, I kind of was expecting it to be a little more dry and witty, and also in terms of the way the story is told. Like, for instance, like I already said, the baristas, we are told they're baristas, but we don't get to see them in action. We only have the author's insistence that they're baristas. As far as the setting goes for the story, it's believable. We get that they are in Australia, and it's kind of nice to see another country at the center of the action besides the United States. The United States, something always seems to happen to the United States, and right now, I don't think we need that anymore. It's nice to see it in a different country, different continent. It's kind of believable. I mean, you also get to see landmarks, and granted, since this is a story about an alien invasion, some of those things are on fire, but even so, it's kind of like, okay, you get actual landmarks. You see, okay, this is contemporary, it's modern day. Culturally, I mean, other than kind of setting the story in Australia, it was kind of like, okay, we get to see the other side of the world, what happens when they're dealing with this. And that was kind of nice, and we get to see what happens with Prime Minister, how do people deal with an alien invasion. It's very interesting. And as far as grammar goes, now, this is a Wattpad novel, but since it's a paid story on Wattpad, that means you have to actually buy the rest of the story. I actually expected the grammar and spelling to be spot on, and it was. Thankfully, there weren't that many grammatical errors, so that was kind of nice, because I've read some stories where I kind of go, okay, you want to be seen as a serious author and everything, but you either constantly capitalize, put too many punctuation, or you misspell, or, you do something. In terms of, so the story is very simple. 4 friends, they don't think they can save the world. They get put in a situation where it's do or die. They have to save the world. That is kind of the crux. At one point, one of the characters, though, she's kind of a hothead, and I kind of go, okay, I'm wondering if she will actually apologize for something she does, because she seems to blame a lot of people for her problems, and I'm not sure if there's a reason for that, or if that's just the way the author wrote her. I'm not quite sure. I kind of wanted a little more background about the characters as I was reading, to kind of, or get a little more into their mind. And that's one of the great things that Terry Pratchett and Douglas Adams did with their characters. You could actually, whenever they would change the novel, you would kind of, from a certain you would get their perspective, while also it would be from the, I want to say, an omniscient narrator. You would kind of get their perspective going through the mind's eye of a character, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and it was often kind of dry and humorous, and that was something I greatly appreciated. With this, Mr. Blackwell, he could have done the same thing. He did not. There are parts, like I said, for me, I was hoping, because of the comparison that he kind of set himself up for, I was expecting it to be kind of up here, and it kind of was like this. Now, granted, I have not read the rest of the story. I have not bought the story, and the reason I haven't is because right now I actually just can't. At some point down the line, I would like to finish the story, and chances are I will make another Wattpad Wednesday revisited edition of this book. But I would still recommend this book. I thought it was very well written. I thought it was interesting, and it's action-packed, it's fast-paced. You kind of can read the book really fast, however you want to. But there were just some things I kind of was like, I need this. Why didn't the author do this, or why didn't I do that? And everyone's opinion is different, and I think the author is a fantastic writer, and he's probably been on Wattpad for a lot longer. He has more books up, and I would definitely recommend checking him out on Wattpad as well as Facebook. Geoff Blackwell, I'll post the link to his accounts down below. Thank you so much for watching my Wattpad Wednesday. I hope to make more videos like this in the future. I appreciate you taking the time. If you want to check out my books on Wattpad, I'll also put the link down to my page below, including my Facebook page and my writer Instagram. Also, I do have a Ko-fi account. I am probably going to put more videos on here later in terms of maybe art demonstrations, but if you want to, you can go support me on Ko-fi. I'll put the link down below. Thank you again for watching my video, and have a great day.